Fosse behind the plate, batting seventh. Dick Breen, bats eighth, the second baseman. And Jim Catfish Hunter, the 25-game winner, is on the mound right now, preparing to face Davey Lopes, the Dodgers' second baseman, who is 0 for 9 in the series. Right-handed batter possessed of great speed, stole 59 bases during the regular season, and came home all the way from first base on a base hit in an error in the first game. Hunter throws high and inside to Davey Lopes, backs him up and down. Ball one. Hunter is a tight pitcher, and Vin Scully described the control that he's got. He can go 3-0, and the A's don't worry. He's got the control. He hits the spot. Has two different kinds of fastballs, one which rises and the other which sinks, such as the one he struck out Joe Ferguson to end the first game. Ball one pitch is up high again. 2-0. Defensively, Tenace is at first, Green at second, Campaneris at shortstop, Bando at third. From left to right in the outfield, Rudi, North, and Jackson. Fosse now flashing the signals on a 2-0 count. The Catfish Hunter. Ball is hit up the middle, and Lopes has his first base hit of the 1974 World Series. Line drive single to center field. And that'll bring up Bill Buckner. 2 for 9 in the series. But Buckner, over the second half of the season, began to become more selective at the pitches at which he would swing, and to swing the bat more. And Buckner, a .314 hitter for the regular season. Left-hander to face the right-hander Catfish Hunter. No score. We have just begun the first inning of Game 3. The feeling is, among many of the A's and their followers, today, or more correctly here in Oakland, tonight is the time to really take advantage of Al Downing. If they don't get him, they've got to face Messersmith and Sutton the next 2 days. Fastball right down the middle to Buckner. Strike one. Hunter in missing high to Lopes. Brought one down, and Davey single to center field. That's over at first base by Buckner, starting this game about 15 minutes late due to the president's speech. Heard on radio and television in this country. The sun problem is about dawn. So it might be that Davey North and Billy North out in center field might be staring into a bit of sunlight coming between the mezzanine and upper deck. And the hitters get a break because the sun is kept well up into their seats far out in center field. Hunter, after their step at first, throws and it's fouled back. 0-2 to Buckner. But Lopes with a pretty good lead at first base. 59 stolen bases during the regular season. Jimmy Wynn standing on deck. Hunter ready and throws, and the ball is hit high in the right field. Reggie Jackson over, Billy North over. Jackson is there and takes it. And needed right field for the first out. Buckner hitting the 0-2 pitch and flying to Jackson, and Lopes retreats to first base.
Number 23.
That'll bring up Jimmy Wynn. One hit and 7 times at bat during this series. That was a home run in the 9th inning of the first game. 32 home runs during the regular season. And Vin Scully, you are a transplanted Easterner, but living in California, the weather you gave us in Los Angeles and the weather the A's are giving us up here, I'll take it.
Yes, and we're grateful for it, too.
Temperature today got into the 80s. Tonight it's to drop into the 50s. Check again to Lopes at first base. Fosse sets the target on the outside corner. There goes Lopes. The ball is pulled down the foul line very deep. And it's foul. About 370 feet. Wynn got out in front of another high pitch from Catfish Hunter, who's having difficulty keeping the ball down. And so Sal Bando walks over to say something to us. Lopes walks slowly back to first base. A's won the first game 3-2 on excellent pitching by Holtzman and Raleigh Fingers, the winner. And then Don Sutton with his superb performance aided by Mike Marshall. In an exciting second game also won 3-2, and we're all squared at a game apiece. Lopes is not going, swinging a miss on a breaking ball thrown by Hunter. And it's 2 strikes to Jimmy Wynn. They call him the toy cannon. Short, slow stance, right-handed swinger. Like Joe Morgan, a lot of power for a little man. There goes Lopes, and the pitch is low and away. Fosse's throw is there, but not in time, and Lopes steals the base. Fosse had to straighten up on the low and away pitch, and Lopes, with a good jump and a good speed, steals the base. No score in the top of the first, and Jim Wynn the batter. 1 out. The breeze that is blowing from left to right. There's Green, and there's the attempted pickoff play at second, and Lopes is back. He didn't have to slide. Andy Olson, the National League umpire, made the call. Doug Harvey, another National League, is behind the plate. Don Benson, the American League, is at first. Juan Luciano, the American League, is at third. The 1-2 pitch, hits low. 2-2. Tom Gorman of the National League is along the left field line, and Bill Kunkel of the American League along the right field line. Harvey has been in 2 prior World Series. Tom Gorman has been in 5, but for the rest of the umpires, the other 4, this is their first. 2-2 to win. A breaking pitch just missed on the outside corner. 3-2 with an out. And Lopes to second. Tom Lasorda yelling in from third base. He's the coach there. Jim Gilliam over at first. Otto looking back at Lopes and now throwing. Breaking pitch is hit high in the air and medium left field. Campaneris goes out, is there, and has it for the second out. Two outs with Lopes still at second, and that will bring up Steve Garvey. Garvey had a tremendous year, hitting .312, 21 home runs, 111 RBIs. You may or may not know he was a write-in candidate at first base. The All-Star game, was ill before the game, played in the game, became the most valuable player, and here in the World Series, he's 4 for 9, hitting .444. And in his last 7 games, he's been hitting at a .433 clip. That goes back to the playoffs. Garvey, the right-hander. Feet close together, slightly closed. Breaking pitches in the dirt, and Fosse calls time and races out the Catfish Hunter. Ball 1. Hunter walking around behind the mound in his 7th World Series game. Won the 6th one last year, won a couple in 1972. Now Downing gets out there. He will be in his first World Series game since 1964. Lopes, good lead off second base, and he's on his way to third, and they're swinging a miss. And I believe it may have been, well, did he get the glove out of his hand out of his glove or not? Lopes is there. He bumped into the umpire and just could not throw it. For a moment then, I didn't know whether or not it was a foul tip or what, but as he came back, Doug Harvey there, and Lopes has stolen his second base and is now over third base. Lopes with a good lead down the line from third, now walks back a few steps. Way down the line he comes, breaking pitch, line to center field. Billy North started in, now comes in a hurry, and takes it. Almost misjudged that ball, but hangs on to it, and Hunter and the A's are out of it after Lopes singles and steals 2 bases. A run, 20 at no errors, and Lopes left at third base. At the end of the first half inning of play, there's no score. Al Downing, you know all about him then, and tell us about it.
Well, basically, I guess you could call him a hairbreadth Harry, because he does a high wire act just about every time he pitches. He actually is a better pitcher, I think, out of a stretch than he is out of a windup. And if he pitches his normal game, he will be in trouble most of the time, even if he pitched a shutout. You'd be surprised how many men will get on base against him. The pitching coach will tell you that Al has to battle himself because he does a lot of things wrong. He knows it. And if he is right, his control will show it. If he is battling himself too much, why, you'll see him high, you'll see him missing, you'll see him in a lot of trouble. If you had to rate his pitches, you would say his fastball is number 1, his changeup is number 2, and then his curveball.
Bill Bill North leads off for the A's in their half of the first inning. North 0 for 19, no hits since the first game of the playoffs, but starting for the first time, swinging from the right side in the 74 series. He has 4 home runs this year, all have been from the right side. Much better hitter. From the right side, Ron Cey, third baseman, in on the edge of the grass for Bill North, who has great speed, led the American League in stolen bases with 54, facing the left-hander Al Downing. Runs up on the pitch. It's a strike and a breaking ball. Downing, when he was called on to pitch his first World Series game ever in 1963, the Yankees took the field. He was with that team. They couldn't find Al Downing. They couldn't start the game. He was in the training room, asleep. Downing ready with the next pitch. Down low, and it's 1-1. Joe Ferguson behind the plate. Steve Garvey at first. Davey Lopes at second. Bill Russell to shortstop. Ron Cey at third. Buckner out at left. Wynn in center. And Willie Crawford making his first series start of this year out and right. Downing, for the season, 5 wins and 6 losses, and pitched less than 100 innings. The 1-1 pitch is outside, and 2-1. North is in a real slump. In his last 16 games, he's had 4 hits and 54 at-bats. Outside corner this time. Caught it. Some of the fans didn't think so. The fastball of Downing on the outside corner. 2 balls, 1 strike. Make that 2-2. No scores. We begin the last of the first. Fouled off to the right, over toward the Dodger dugout, and he into the dugout. Oakland's Coliseum holds nearly 50,000, and there are nearly 50,000 here this evening. The Dodgers set records in their first game for attendance, and then went over that by 15 persons in the second game, drawing nearly 56,000 in each of the first 2 series games. Downing throws, swing and a miss, and a high fastball, and North strikes out. First strikeout of the game, and here comes Campaneris. Had his best year ever at the plate, average-wise, hitting .290. Although he only had 2 home runs during the regular season, at one time in his career, he hit 19. In the series, he's 2 for 6, an RBI, and 2 sacrifice bunts, including the squeeze bunt that brought in Kenny Holtzman with a run back in the first game, hitting a .333. Campaneris batting from the right side against the left-handed Al Downing. Downing has the start and throws, missing the outside corner. Fastball for ball 1. The 1-0 pitch from Al. Grounding ball over the head of Stay down the line. Campaneris with speed on his way around first base. Buckner is up with the ball. Throws to second. Campaneris slides into the double. A kangaroo hop over the head of little Ron Cey. And it's a double. And Campaneris is on at second with Sal Bando coming up. Bando is hitless in this series, 0 for 7, but he has scored a run. In the last 2 games of the playoffs, he scored the winning run in each. Campaneris with a short lead off second base. Downing, and remember what Vin Scully said, perhaps pitches better from the stretch. And he is, of course, he's pitching from the stretch here now. Bando takes the fastball outside, ball 1.
The Oakland-A's dugout, the owner of the Oakland-A's, Mr. Charles O'Finley, is talking to President Gerald Ford, giving him a special invitation to attend tomorrow.
They're making an announcement here that Charles O'Finley at this moment is on the telephone to President Gerald Ford, asking them to come to a World Series game. 1 ball, no strike. A strike at the knee. Downing took something off that pitch. And it's 1-1. They play Bando, as you would suspect, way around to the left. Full hitter. Great gapping hole between Wynn and Crawford in the outfield. In center and right. Ball is hit down the right field line, but it is well foul and back in the lower seat. Downing ahead of the hitter, Bando. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Dodgers slightly favored still to take the series. The A's favored to take tonight's game because of the pitching matchup. But thus far, there is no score. Bando waiting deep in the box. The 1-2 pitch is foul to the screen, and Bando just got a piece of it. Walter Alston said before the game, depending upon how much he has to use Mike Marshall here in Oakland, if it goes back to Los Angeles, he's entertaining the thought of starting Mike Marshall. Downing from the stretch to the 1-2 pitch, and it's fouled up the first base line, and Jerry Adair picks it up. He's the coach at first, and Bobby Winkle coaching over third base. The Oakland A's still have not tendered their manager, Al Dark, a manager's contract for next year. He is managing without a contract in 1975, and there are those who say that if he does not win the series, he will not be offered the contract. That's rumors you hear around the ballpark. Still 1-2 to Bando. Again fouled off. Downing changed his speed very well, and Bando did one off the end of his bat up the first base line, fouled this one back. Downing takes his time from that stretch and throws again. Ground ball toward the shortstop. Russell up with it, holds the runner on at second, and throws out Bando. There's 2 outs. And that'll bring up Reggie Jackson, hitting at 289, 29 home runs, 93 RBIs during the regular season. He's 3 for 6 in the series, including a home run. That was his only RBI. He has scored twice. Jackson has been hitting a lot of his home runs and extra base hits the other way. He's a left-handed batter. And in the playoffs, he hit a couple of home runs here to left center field. Although they play him, of course, as a full hitter. He has great power to left center. Campaneris still at second, but now with 2 outs. Left-hander Downing to left-hander Reggie Jackson. Pitches down low with the fastball, and it's 1-0. Al Downing, after being in the stretch, simply steps off and turns his back to Jackson, rubs up the ball, and stares out to center field. Rao was an original choice, or thought to be original choice of Walter Alston, but after he did not do so well in the playoffs, Alston went to Downing even before the first game of the series. Now Downing spins off the rubber as if to throw to second, but neither Russell nor Lopes had made a move. Now he throws to Jackson, and the ball is lowered away. 2-0 to Jackson. Joe Rudi, a right-handed hitter, kneels on deck. Downing throws, and it's fouled back. 2-1. Jackson really took off on a righter yesterday. So much so that he gathered quite a crowd of reporters. Then Vida Blue went after the same reporter, and then Billy North went after the same reporter. But the man who has received the reprimand is at bat right now, Reggie Jackson. 2 balls, 1 strike. Downing is now ready, and there's a ground ball right back to him on 1 hop. And Al throws him out. Jackson is out, and so are the A's. No runs, 1 hit, no errors, and Campaneris left at second base. At the end of 1, there's no score. Oakland, California, Game 3 of the 1974 World Series. This is Jim Simpson with Tim Scully as we begin the second, and Willie Crawford is making his first start for the Dodgers in this series. Up for the first time, left-handed right fielder takes a strike from Catfish Hunter on the outside corner. Crawford was up as a pinch hitter, as we said, against Raleigh Fingers in the 8th inning of the first game and singled to right field. Up for the second time in the series with a strike 1 count. Hunter hits him at the knees with a sinking fastball, and it's 0-2 to Crawford. On deck is Joe Ferguson. No score as we begin the second. Fastball misses down low. We'd like to say hello on behalf of all of us from Oakland, California, to those of you listening not only in the United States, but South America, Europe, in Asia, and, of course, in Japan. The 1-2 count is grounded toward Green, who charges at second base and flips it over to Tenace for the first out of the Dodgers second. That'll bring up Ferguson. 1 for 6. But you know what that one was, don't you? The 2-run home run on the Dodgers.
The first seed, Joe Ferguson.
Ferguson, big, strong, right-handed hitting catcher sometimes, outfielder sometimes. Started out as an outfielder, became a catcher, moved back to the outfield when Yeager moved in and did so well. Yeager on the bench against the right-hander to get Crawford in there. Breaking pitch is a strike to Ferguson. Curveball from Catfish Hunter. Hunter comes back with the fastball and it's fouled upstairs. 0-2. Dodgers haven't been in the World Series since 1966. When they were in that World Series, which lasted but 4 games against Baltimore, Willie Crawford was a member of that team. Al Downing was a member of that team. And Jim Brewer. All the rest in their first World Series competition. 2-strike pitch is a slider down and away, and it's 1-2. Ron Cey, the Penguin, stands on deck, swinging a bat. Hunter ready, swinging a miss. Hits something off that pitch, and Ferguson's way out in front of it. First strikeout for Catfish Hunter. Hunter doesn't overwhelm people, but he'll strike out a lot. A batter says he prefers to get him to hit the ball somewhere. Says if you strike out a lot of batters, that means you're throwing a lot of pitches. And Hunter's been throwing more than 300 innings for the last couple of years. That's a lot of innings pitched. Ron Cey hitting 167 for the series. Upright batter from the right side. Takes ball 1 low. On a right back, and Cey hits it into left field. Rudi standing there now must come in a few steps, and about 300 feet away takes it. And Hunter has a 1-2 inning. He's retired the last 6 men in a row. In the middle of the second, there's no score. A message from B.F. Goodrich Tire Company. Rudi, Tenace, and Fosse to face the left-hander Al Downing. There's no score, and Joe Rudi to step in. It was Rudi who was on base, and Herb Washington ran for him, and Mike Marshall came up with that fine pickoff throw to cut down the potential tying run at first base that still has everybody talking. It happened in the 9th inning. Someone went up to Herb Washington, the pinch runner who was caught, yesterday and said, when I saw that on television in the 9th inning, I got so mad that I couldn't see straight. And Herb Washington with a smile said, what did you see on television? What happened? Herb says he never lost any sleep over it, even though he knows that Mike Marshall, former professor of his at Michigan State, did a better job as a pitcher than he did as a base runner. Rudi with that exaggerated closed stance, and he bends way over from the right side and takes the pitch outside, ball 1. Washington did admit, however, that his family is taking the fact that he was picked off rather hard. They're being reminded of it by the folks back home in Michigan. That he doesn't like. Downing ready to throw his fastball is outside, and it's 2-0. For the A's, Campaneris doubled in the first inning. He's their only base runner. For the Dodgers, Lopes is their only base runner, leading off with a single, and then he stole both second and third against Catfish Hunter. Downing throws again outside with the fastball. And now it is 3-0. Rudi takes a look down at the 3-0 count to Bobby Winkles, the third base coach. Whether or not he's taking or swinging away. He's looking, and he got a strike at the knee. On deck is Gene Tenace. Delightful evening here after the temperature reached into the 80s today. I would imagine the temperature now is dropping to about 70 or maybe even a little bit less. Sun still glancing off the mountains out beyond the center field wall. Rudi has his sign, so does Downing. The 3-1 pitch, he's swinging and grounding the ball to Russell at shortstop, is over to his right, makes a good long throw and throws him out. Rudi is out, swinging on the 3-1 pitch. And that'll bring up Tenace, the hero of the 72 World Series, hit 26 home runs this past season, but in postseason play, Gino has been in a slump, 1 for 17. And extending back into the season, in his last 9 games, Tenace has had 1 base hit in 25 trips. But they're very deep in left field. Tenace takes outside as Downing pitches him away. Downing back again outside to those right-handers. That left-hander will keep the ball outside. Misses again, 2-0. Wants them to have nothing to pull. Ray Fosse on deck. 2-0, and again outside, and again he missed. 3-0. And so now Tenace does what Rudi did, looking down at Bobby Winkles. Rudi was taking on the 3-0 pitch and then swinging on 3-1 as the leadoff batter. Tenace is swinging on 3-0 and fouls it to the screen. A's are trying to wake up their bats if they can. As a team, they did not have a good team batting average all season long, and lately, not much at all. Yesterday's workout, which at first was to be voluntary as they came in from Los Angeles Sunday night, was made mandatory. 3-1. Downing back to throw. This time he pulls the ball inside, and Tenace is way around on it and fouls it down the left field line. Down toward the A's bullpen. No score with 1 out in the last of the second. Downing back and misses low inside. Tenace, who led the American League in walks this year, walked him with 1 out. That'll bring up Fosse, who in 5 trips has failed to get a hit and has struck out 3 times. Fosse, the right-handed hitting catcher, doing a little manicuring of the batter's box, digging it up with his right foot back at the baseline. Ferguson looks into the Dodger dugout and now prepares to get Downing the side. Tenace, no threat to steal. Tried it 12 times this year, successful only twice. Downing, outside to Fosse, ball 1, keeping that ball away from the right-hander. Now Fosse, on a count of 1-0, looks down to Winkles, who looks into Doc to get the sign. From the stretch, and the ball is hit up toward right field. Over comes Willie Crawford and has the line drive, and repeating the first base is Gene Tenace. There are 2 outs. And Dick Green Also 0 for 5, steps in.
Number 1, Dick Green, second base.
Green was the captain of the A's when they were back in Kansas City. He was just in his mid-20s. He's been with this ball club for a long time. And over the last couple of years has retired nearly at the end of every year, only to unretire as spring rolled around and come back to play second base for the A's. He had back problems a couple of years ago, remember? Downing from the stretch is down at the knees with the fastball, strike one. Winters shaded slightly toward left. But Crawford over near the line, thinking that Green might go the other way if he hits to right. Downing's fastball catches the outside corner, and it's quickly 2 strikes to Green. But Tenace at first. The Dodger fans, it's a question of how long can Al Downing go. Hopefully all the way. But if they get 5, 6 innings puffed out of him, he will have done a superb job. Pitched less than 100 innings as opposed to Catfish Hunter's more than 300 innings. The 2-strike pitch is outside and high. Ball 1. Something new has been added in the San Francisco-Oakland Bay area, and that is the rapid transit. And one of the BART system trains is just pulled in slightly behind center field fence. First time we've seen that in an Oakland ballpark. Downing is ready and throws and swings. And a miss by Green to strike out. Downing second. No runs, no hits, no errors, and Tenace left at first. At the end of 2, no score. Well, in the first game of the World Series, it was won by the A's 3-2. The second game was won by the Dodgers 3-2, and here we begin the third inning now. And there is no score at all between the Dodgers and the A's. And already, as we begin the third, the Oakland management has announced its crowd, which is capacity 49,347. Here at the Oakland, well, they call it the Oakland-Alameda County Coliseum.
Number 18.
We call it the Oakland Coliseum. Russell up for the first time, hitting 286, 2 for 7 in the series. He was a 269 hitter throughout the season. Right-handed swinger taking a look down to Tom Latorda, third base, before stepping in to face 25-game winner Jim Catfish Hunter. Hits the first pitch and pops it up to the infield. Tenace comes over, but Hunter says, nope, I'll take it. And on the mound, he takes it. Russell pops to the pitcher, Hunter, who is not in his first World Series game of 74. Remember, he came in to pitch to one man to seal the A's victory in the first game on Saturday afternoon, striking out Joe Ferguson. Al Downing, the batter. Downing's lifetime batting average, 131. He hit a couple of home runs eons ago for the Yankees in 65 and 67. Right-handed batter, even though he is a left-handed pitcher, takes the breaking ball from Hunter for strike one. They play Downing very short and around to right. Comes back with the fastball, strike 2. Hunter throws, misses the outside corner, and it's 1-2. Davey Lopes, who singled and stole 2 bases, on deck. Foul tipped and went off the mask of Ray Fosse. Fosse has been hurt a couple of times in his career, once by sliding Pete Rose in an all-star game, and earlier this year by trying to break up a fight between Reggie Jackson and Billy North. Ground ball right back to Hunter, who's going to make a second play of this third inning as he throws him out easily. Downing is out. And that's the 8th man in a row that Catfish Hunter is retired. As we go back to the top of the batting order, and the only man to reach base against him is Davey Lopes.
Second baseman, Davey Lopes.
Catfish Hunter out on the mound with those 25 victories, completing his 4th consecutive season as a 20-game winner. Some confusion whether or not he is a free agent or not. Commissioner Louis Kuhn says he will rule later. Hunter and his attorney say that Charles O'Finley, the owner of the team, did not pay off a $50,000 lump payment as scheduled to do. Finley has his own ideas why he did not. Lopes swings and misses on a Hunter breaking ball. Strike one. And they'll get together after the series. Hunter, the quick worker, comes back with the fastball low. And it's 1-1. When you talk about the Dodgers, Vince Scully could tell you more about that than I, but when you talk about the Dodgers, you talk about good hitting, good fielding, fundamental play. There's another ball. The men that have been changed from outfielders to infielders or vice versa. But when you talk about the A's, you talk about fights, arguments, lawsuits, you name it. And they happen to have won the last 2 World Championships. 2-1, and it's down low to Lopes. Hunter, now with a 3-1 count, for the only man he's allowed to reach base. Hunter feels he can throw a strike any time he has to. He very seldom walks anybody, but walks Lopes with a pitch outside. Lopes very confident of his speed and ability to steal. Credited with the statement, someday he's going to steal 100. Sold 59 during the regular season. Buckner hit an 0-2 pitch and fly to Jackson in short right field last time up. Left-handed batter facing Hunter. Tenace holding Lopes on, and now Hunter checks over there. Buckner complaining about the shadows at Dodger Stadium the other day. Took a third call strike. He said, I think that's the second time all year long I've done that. I just couldn't see. There's another check to first. Lopes has to dive back. But there are no sun problems here this evening. The sun has disappeared behind the stadium. It goes down directly behind home plate. That's what makes it so difficult when you begin at 5:30 Pacific time. Another throw to first, but Lopes was already moving backwards. So Hunter has checked him 3 times now. He's yet to come to the plate. He's not going. The ball is grounded at Tenace in fair territory. Steps on the bag. And the A's are out of the inning. No runs, no hits, no errors, and Lopes left at first base. We go to the last of the third. Los Angeles and Oakland, no score. Hello again from Oakland, California. Jim sent to the Vin Scully, our leadoff batter for the A's, and their half of the third is Catfish Hunter, and he swings and misses at an Al Downing breaking pitch. Strike one. Hunter, before the days of the designated hitter, a real good hitting pitcher, hitting nearly .230 for a lifetime average with 6 home runs. Next pitch misses, and it's 1-1. The Catfish Hunter, scoreless as we begin the last of the third. Downing back with the fastball and a foul out of play over to the right. Making it into about the second row. Garvey gave the good long run, and by the way, there's a lot of room to run behind the plate or down the first and third baselines here. Lots of foul territory. Each pitcher thus far has given up a base hit and walked a man. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Hunter. Downing taking a lot of time between pitches tonight. Throws and swing and a miss, and Hunter is strikeout number 2. Makes that number 3 for Al Downing. His second in a row. North struck out swinging at a high fastball back in the first inning. Now 0 for 7 in the series. Downing waits as North began to step out, now steps back in. Ball is hit high and foul to right, and will make it well into the seats down the right field line. Well, it's still early in the ball game, but as Vin Scully told you, in Dodgerland, can't remember Vince's exact words about hold your breath when Downing pitches because he's in trouble all the time. But he really hasn't been in too much trouble with the exception of the one-out double to Campaneris back in the first. Nobody's really been pounding the ball hard and hitting it in the ground. He has struck out 3. High pitch. And it's 1 ball, 1 strike to North. Ball hit past the first base hit for North. Sharply hit line drive past Ron Cey's left. North, who can run, is on at first. Campaneris, who can run and control the bat, is the hitter. Campy looking down to Bobby Winkles. The coach at third base. We have no score with 1 out in the last of the third. North, not with a good lead, now walks away a few extra steps. Garvey holding him on at first. And Downing's on a check over there, and North is back standing up. Downing is going to go back to first base. North came nowhere near, not even 50% of what Lou Brock did over in the National League, but he can steal bases. 53 last year, lost the stolen base title when he hurt his ankle with 3 weeks to go and lost it by 1. He won it this week. Well, there, Downing delivers to the plate. He had North going back the other way. 1 ball, no strike. Back again, and this with a call strike at the knee. Everybody reads the scouting reports, but nevertheless, I would imagine a base runner, when he is being held on for the first time by a pitcher he hasn't seen before, might be a little bit more cautious than necessary. Maybe not cautious enough. North has been very cautious, not going at all. Next pitch is high, and it's 2-1 for Campaneris. From the stretch with that long look to his catcher, Ferguson. And there goes the runner, and the ball is hit to stay. Knocks it down, gets up, throws over to first base, and North goes on to third, diving in. North running on the pitch, steals second, and goes on to third on the fine backhanded play by Ron Cey at third base, who threw out Campaneris. And so with 2 out, North is over at third, and Bando due up. Bando looking for his first hit of the 74 World Series. He is 0 for 8. Bounce to Russell at shortstop back in the first. North walking down the line from third base. Downing throws, and Bando fouls it to the 3. Strike 1. Well, Bando, the organist here, plays Strike Up the Band. Oh. Downing ready. North Bluff coming down the line. Downing throws fastball way outside. And it's 1 ball, 1 strike to Captain Sal Bando. Taking a long time to get the sign. Has it now. Throws now, and the ball is inside and low. And it's 2-1 to Bando. North races up and down the line, save for the right-handed hitting Bando, who is a full hitter, well behind the bag at third base, as he must be. But North has some freedom over third base. Ball is spotted on the outside corner. Deep Downing fastball. Pitching away from Bando and gets the second strike. 2-2. Two out in the last of the third. There's no score. Game 3 of the 74 World Series. The A's trying to pick on 5-game winner Al Downing. 2-2, and the changeup is up high, and it's 3-2. 3-2 with 2 out. Downing brushes off the signal from Ferguson, and now steps off to rev up the ball again. Pitch is down low, and Bando throws the walk. Runners at the corner. Second walk given up by Downing, and Reggie Jackson coming up. Jackson bounced back to Downing in the first inning. Ben just looked over to me. I said, they've been breezing along here with no trouble at all. As soon as I said that, North singled, stole second, went on to third. On the say throw-out of Campaneris, and now he's walked Bando. No trouble at all. Hasn't allowed a run yet. Here's Jackson with that great power. And now for the first time we see some folks running down to the Dodger bullpen. Looks like Jim Brewer running down there. Check swing by Jackson. Doug Harvey looks down to third base umpire Ron Luciano and said he did not go around. That's ball 1. Charlie Huff went racing down to the bullpen. Breaking ball, this is on the outside side corner. 2-0. Left-hander Jackson. Bando's on at first. North is down the line at third with 2 outs. They made a great play to stop a run from scoring. Swing and a miss. 2-1. Say on his stop of the Campaneris drive, dove to his right toward the third base bag. North was running on the pitch, had second base, continued on to third as Say got up and threw out Campaneris. Ball is loose in the outfield, but they didn't see it. Got out of the bullpen. The pitch is low, and it's 3-1. In trouble, throws, and it's a bounding ball back in front of the mound. Caught by Ferguson. Ferguson had the play in front of him and dropped the ball. Downing came off. Ferguson was chasing it out from behind the plate and could not hold on to it. And North scores. And it's 1-0. Bando goes down to second base. Joe Ferguson on Reggie Jackson's grounder right in front of the home plate, just slightly to the right of the mound. The runner is unearned, and Rudi is up. Downing in trouble. Rudi is 0 for 1 in this game, bouncing to Russell to open the second. Downing ready and throws, and Rudi lines one foul off to the right. Taking on a fastball, reaching across the plate as Downing continues to keep the ball outside to those right-handed hitters. Ferguson, catching his first game in the World Series, has been out in right field. Yeager has been behind the plate. Strike one to Rudi. Downing throws, ground ball toward the second base. Lets it go throwing. All around third comes Bando. Over to third goes Jackson, and Jackson stops there. They're going to give him a base hit. Jackson stops at third. Lopes was there in plenty of time. The ball didn't come up. It stayed down and went right under his glove. And Gene Tenace, who walked in the second inning, is up. Lopes was to the ball in plenty of time. Now it's Jackson leading down the line at third. Couple of unearned runs here. Downing throws. Misses outside to Gene Tenace. Catfish Hunter and the Oakland A's have been presented with a 2-run gift here in the third by the Dodgers. Downing back with the fastball. It's too high. And it's 2-0 to Gene Tenace. Hoff and Brewer continue to throw in the bullpen for the Dodgers. Way outside and way high. Downing had that pitch get away from him. 3-0. Tenace looks down at Bobby Winkles to see if he gets a shot at swinging him 3-0. He did back in the second inning and fouled it off. That's the strike on the outside corner. 3 balls, 1 strike. Tenace waits. Downing brushes off a pitch to Ferguson. Now accepts the sign and throws a breaking ball that misses up high. And the bases are loaded. Jackson remains at third. Rudi drops down to second as Tenace is on at first base. Ron Cey walks out to talk to Downing, and now Ferguson comes out. As the 8th man to bat, Ray Fosse is due up. Adams, the pitching coach, is coughing out to say something. And Vin Scully, Downing is in trouble.
Yeah, it doesn't come as any surprise. Although, to his credit, the Dodgers made 2 bad plays in the inning. However, it gets back to the Dodger ball club. It is a group of converted ball players. Davey Lopes is an outfielder. He tried to backhand the ball that he should have fielded with his body in front of it. And, of course, Ferguson is an outfielder converted catcher, and he had trouble on a base hit in front of the plate. And, of course, for a guy like Downing, he needs all the help that he can get. And instead of getting help, he's been undermined. And that's the way it goes.
Ray Fosse, as the conference is over, Adams goes back to the dugout. Fosse comes up with the bases loaded. And 2 out. All runs unearned. Downing throws ground ball right back to him, takes his time, and throws on. And that's the 3rd out. He does it himself. But 2 runs score on 2 base hits and 1 big error. And one of those base hits was questionable, and 3 men left. At the end of 3, it's 2-0 Oakland. Back in Oakland, California, along with Vin Scully, this is Jim Simpson and nearly 50,000 others, most of whom are very thrilled at what took place in the last of the 3rd, in that this is Oakland home territory. And the A's now have given or maybe I should say the Dodgers, have now given Catfish Hunter 2 runs with which to work. The Dodgers in the fourth will go with the middle of their lineup, Wynn, Garvey, and Crawford. Hunter gave up his leadoff single to Lopes in the first, and since then he has set everybody down with the exception of Lopes, who reached first again, this time with a walk in the third. Wynn, on a 3-2 count, popped out Campaneris in short left field back in the first inning. Jim Catfish Hunter, who calls himself a country farm boy from Hertford, North Carolina, on the mound and in the windup. And a strike. Wynn looked as though he tried to hold up on that, but went around, and Greg Harvey says strike one. Hunter taking something off that pitch. Now comes back with the fastball, which he spots blowing away, and it's 1 ball, 1 strike. Hunter ready again with that same fastball, catching the outside corner. 1 ball, 2 strikes. That's the way Catfish works. In and out, up and down, spotting the corner, changing speed. Throwing a breaking pitch, occasionally coming in with a fastball, of which he's got 2 different kinds, one that rises and one that sinks. The 1-2 pitch, missed outside. 2-2. Nice breeze blowing from left to right. Hunter throws, missing again outside, and he goes all the way to Wynn as he did back in the first inning when he got him on the pop-up. Since we've been talking about the weatherman tells us that the next 2 days, games 4 and 5, we should have the same kind of weather here in Oakland, California. 3-2 pitch and a ground ball past the glove of Hunter. Green goes down, bobbles the ball, picks it up, throws, not in time. Well, a little bit of a problem down there. The ball went past the glove of Hunter. I don't believe that he deflected it, but Green had plenty of time to make the play, had the ball right in front of him, and couldn't handle it. That'll bring up Garvey. Error to Green. Garvey lined to north and center field to end the first inning. Oakland leads by 2. We're in the top of the fourth. Hunter ready and throws a breaking pitch that stays inside, and Garvey's got a twist out of the way of it. Ball 1. Fosse again goes out. Fosse has a habit of going out, and there was one time in his career when he would go out almost every pitch before flipping the ball back. And especially with men on base, he likes to run the ball out a little bit before throwing it back to the pitcher. Wynn, who stole 18 bases, good base runner over at first base. Ball is fouled out of play off to the right. And it's strike 1 to Steve Garvey. Hunter now checks over at first base. Expected pitchers tomorrow, left-hander Ken Holtzman for Oakland, and the right-hander Andy Messersmith for the Dodgers. And we should get Blue and Sutton on Thursday. 1-1 pitch, bounding ball, past Bando, and just foul. Bounding down beyond the third base umpire, Ron Luciano, one of the great showmen of the umpiring ranks, who tells us very definitely and emphatically that's foul. 1-2. As Wynn, who was all the way down to second base, walks back to first. Bando, you know, is the captain of the Dodgers, led the club in RBIs for a couple of years, but Sporting News voted him the best defensive third baseman in the league last year. Didn't get the Golden Glove, but the paper thought so. Popped up foul, reaching back into the seats off to the right side. 1-2 to Garvey. Man that gets that Golden Glove has gotten it 14 years in a row. Brooks Robinson at Baltimore. I wonder if Don Money will get it this year. He set a major league, an American League record for fewest errors at third base in the American League, and he'd done the same thing over in the National League with the Phillies before going to Milwaukee. The pitch is down the line, foul and deep to right, and will fall well back in the seat. Money set a record over at Philadelphia and then came over with Milwaukee this year, broke the record of George Kell in the American League. A little bit of trivia. I don't know of another player who owns the fielding records at the same position in both leagues. 1-2. Wynn with the lead is on his way on 1-2. The ball is drilled toward left field. It'll drop in front of Joe Rudi, and Wynn stops at second. Garvey gets his 5th base hit of the series. And Wynn is down at second. And so now Catfish Hunter finds himself with a tying runs on and none out, and Willie Crawford coming up.
The batter.
Sal Bando walks over to say something. The Oakland A's have so many different infield shifts. Should there be a bunt, should a ball be hit a certain way, that you almost have to get them straightened out in your mind beforehand of who goes where. They have so many. Very complicated. Campaneris is over near second base on many bunting attempts. He will go all the way over to cover third. They've got a left-hander up, remember, in Crawford. Tenace is able to play off the bag since it's a runner at second. Line drive, right to Green, goes on to Catfish, double play. Jimmy Wynn takes his hat off, wanted to throw it, and then thought better of it. Garvey stays rooted at first base. A couple of feet either way, and Crawford had himself a base hit. Instead, it's a quick double play. And that'll bring up Joe Ferguson, who hit the 2-run home run Sunday. And that has been his only base hit in the series. Ferguson, strong right-handed hitter, gets the pitch down low. Vida Blue had been pitching Ferguson away and got one high and tight to him, and that's the one that Ferguson hit over the center field wall. Missing low again, Hunter, keeping the ball very low to the very dangerous Joe Ferguson. At 2-0, Fergie takes a look at Tom Lasorda, the third base coach. Back with the fastball, pops him up at foul, and will make it back into the seat. 2 balls, 1 strike. Our game time broadcast tomorrow and Thursday will be 8:15 Eastern Time, 5:15 Pacific Coast Time, with the first pitch at 8:30 Eastern Time or 5:30 Pacific Coast Time. Delayed by the President's speech tonight, about 15 minutes. 2-1 pitch to Ferguson. Just missed. 3 balls, 1 strike. Garvey not scoring as the pitch is at the knees for a strike. Ferguson was on his way to first base. Now with 3 and 2 and 2 outs, Garvey will be off and running. Catfish Hunter has amazing pinpoint control. Just sticks the ball just in the spot. Fosse puts the target on the outside corner. Swings and misses on the fastball. Now Ferguson strikes out for the second time against Hunter tonight, and for the third time in the 3 times he's faced him in the series. No runs, 1 hit, 1 error, and 1 left. We go to the last of the 4th. Oakland 2, Los Angeles nothing. With Vin Scully, Jim Simpson in Oakland, Dick Green to lead off the A's 4th. Struck out against Al Downing back in the 2nd inning. That takes the pitch inside, ball 1. Oakland has 2 runs on 1 big error and a base hit by Joe Rudi. Downing throws back. And it's too low, and it's 2-0. And on the Rudi base hit, it looked as though Lopes would certainly get it. But as Vin pointed out to you, he tried to backhand it, didn't get in front of it. It went on into right center field for a base hit and another run scored. So there's one error of commission and one of omission. Downing misses with the fastball outside, and there's quickly 3-0 to the 8th place hitter in the lineup, Dick Green, who hasn't had a hit in the entire series. In Catfish Hunter on deck. Downing catches the outside corner with his fastball, and Green was taking all the way. It's 3 balls, 1 strike. The fastball misses low. That's the third walk given up by Downing. And now Hunter. Tommy Winkle walked into the dugout to ask Alvin Dark something and then raced back to his spot on the third base coaching line. Ron Cey anticipating the punt, coming in on the grass at third base. Garvey holding Green on at first. Throw over to first base. Hunter can handle a bat. He's probably one of the best in the American League in swinging away or in bunting, as far as the pitchers are concerned. Back, he squares around the bunt, bumps it up the first base side. Downing comes over, gloves it, turns around and fires on. And the sacrifice bunt works as Hunter lays it down perfectly. The put out is 1-3, and Green rides into second base. And that'll bring up Bill North, who got his first base hit after going 0 for 7 and scored the first run of the ball game back in the third. Oakland has their 2 runs on 3 base hits and 1 error. The Dodgers, no runs, 2 hits and 1 error. North, not a power hitter, a switch hitter, takes the breaking pitch down low. It's ball 1. Downing from the stretch throws a breaking pitch. It misses a little high. That's 2-0. Dodgers continue to have Jim Brewer warming. Up has taken a seat. Downing throws the fastball, hit deep to left field. Buckner goes back to the warning track. Under it now, it's very high, and just in front of the warning track takes the long fly ball of Billy North. Ball got way up in the air, and Buckner was able to get back and wait for the long fly ball off the bat of North. Here's Campaneris. Campaneris has doubled on a ball that bounced past Cey, and then Cey knocked down his hard hit ground ball in the third inning on a great play, threw him out. Campaneris has hit the ball twice very hard, and both times toward third baseman Ron Cey. Downing throws, and there's a fastball hit up the middle. Here comes Green all the way around as the ball is thrown into home plate and it gets away from everybody, and nobody to back up. Now coming on to third base is Green. They have 3 men at the plate or in front of the plate, and nobody backing up. Campaneris has been the clutch hitter for the A's in this series, drives in Green, and gets all the way to third base. The throw from Wynn was a good one. Nobody was there, though, to take it. As a matter of fact, one man, Garvey, cut in front of another, Ferguson. Things about Wynn with a bad arm. He missed the cutoff man, Garvey. And, of course, you just can't play the A's sloppily. So first, Wynn arced the throw and missed his cutoff man, and the pitcher, Downing, should have been behind the plate. But he was a spectator between the third base foul line and the mound. So the A's are out in front 3-0, and the Dodgers are playing a very poor defensive ball game. And the A's, champions that they are cashing him in.
But with a runner like Campaneris and with an arm like Jimmy Wynn, there's no way you should allow Campaneris to get any more than the base hit that he got. But the Dodgers are playing it very wild and erratic at this stage of the game. And so with 2 out, Downing comes out, and Campaneris is at third. And a screwball pitcher, at least that's his one of 2 good pitchers, Jim Brewer, will pick up for him. Brewer has not pitched much. He's had a bad back. He was in traction. In fact, the Dodgers' fortunes last year perhaps were put in Brewer's egg basket alone when he came up with a bad back. Even though they won 95, they were caught. This year, sadder but wiser, they traded for Marshall. That when Brewer's back flared up yet again, they had Iron Mike. The Brewer's in pretty good shape, although he is rather rusty, and he'll pick up for Downing. Downing went 3 2/3 innings, and he is charged with 3 runs. But as we say, this run in the 3rd inning, or the 2 runs in the 3rd inning, was set up on the errors. 1 run here in the 4th inning is deserved, but if Campaneris should score, let's say, on an infield single, well, then you'd lay that to the misplay on the throw. So it is 3-0 in favor of the champs, and let's go back to Jim.
All right, Bill Bando has scored a run after walking. That was really a house party the Dodgers had at home plate. Garvey was up the line toward first. Ferguson was in the middle. And the pitcher Downing was in the melee also, and the ball got past Garvey and off the glove of Ferguson. Along Campaneris to scamper over to third base. 3-0 to score. Bando 0 for 1 with a run scored. Now facing the left hand of Brewer, whose fastball is up high. Catfish Hunter led the American League in earned run average, which was considerably less than 3. He now has a 3-0 lead over the Dodgers. Brewer throws hard again, a high fastball as Bando swings and misses off. Brewer in his 3rd World Series. He was with the Dodgers in 65 and 66. Ben talked about Jim Wynn's arm. You no doubt remember the great throw of Ferguson, who cut in front of Wynn in the first game for that very reason. Ball is popped up. Back toward the screen. Ferguson comes back right at the screen and watches it just over the screen. Another foot of playing field, and Bando would have been out. And there's a lot of room behind home plate. 1 ball, 2 strikes with 2 outs. Well, the Dodgers, in the 1 game they lost in the playoffs, committed 5 errors, and that's happened several times for them during the year. Campaneris bluff coming down the line, forcing Brewer to step off. The game thus far, even though they like to call the World Series a classic, this game cannot be called a classic. High and away. 2 balls, 2 strikes. There have been 3 errors. And another ground ball that was ruled a base hit that could have been an error. 2-2. And now it's 3-2 as he misses down low with a screwball. And 2 and Bando digging in with 2 outs. Brewer ready. Campaneris down the line. Swing and a miss on a breaking pitch. He struck him out. Brewer gets the job done. But another run scores on 1 base hit, 1 throwing error that went for naught, and 1 left. At the end of 4, Oakland leads Los Angeles 3-0. Back in Oakland, California, where they are still buzzing over another bizarre inning turned in by the Dodgers, giving the A's yet another run as we begin the 5th. It's 3-0. Cey, Russell, and apparently a pinch hitter because Huff is down and throwing in the bullpen again for the Dodgers. Cey flied to left back in the 2nd inning. Catfish Hunter, to recall again for you, led the American League in earned run average this year. 2.49. He already has 3 runs with which to work. through 4 innings here in this Game 3 of the World Series. Hunter with the fastball catches the outside corner. Low and away, the breaking ball, and it's 1 ball, 1 strike. Catches the corner again with the fastball. Away from Cey for strike 2. Hunter, the fast worker, comes back and gets him swinging. His second. Makes up the 3rd strikeout he's got because he struck out Ferguson twice. That's his 3rd strikeout. 1 out, and Russell coming up. Bill popped up to Hunter at the mound. His only other time at bat. They play Russell around a little bit to the right. 5 home runs throughout the entire season. Down low, Brewer has come out on deck. The ball 1 count. The ball has hit the center field. Out there is Billy North who takes the line drive. Now then, we've received word that Joe Ferguson was charged with that error tonight, tying a record for most by catcher in a series game by Lou Clark of the Red Sox in 1903 and Jim Wilson of the Cardinals way back in 1928. Lee Lacy has come out on deck, but give Ferguson the error for not catching the ball, not on the throw of Jimmy Wynn. The men were there. Garvey was up the line. The ball went off the glove of Ferguson as Garvey reached out trying to get it himself. Lacy has not been the best in the World Series thus far. Lacy during the regular season had 282, but was only at bat 78 times. Our score, Oakland 3, Los Angeles nothing. Lacy, right-handed batter. Is now set. Hunter throws and he fouls it off to the screen behind home plate. Catfish right back and catches the corner. That fastball knee high on the outside corner. He's had more than a couple of strikes right there tonight. Ahead of Lacy, the 0-2 pitch is down low, trying to hit the same corner. Or at least trying to get Lacy to go for a pitch out of the strike zone that was in the same area. Hunter throws, swing and a miss. He struck out his 4th man, 2 in this inning. No runs, no hits, no errors, and none left. We go to the last of the 5th. In the 3rd game of the World Series, Oakland leads Los Angeles 3-0. Back at Oakland, California, Game 3 of the World Series, which at the moment, the A's lead the Dodgers 3-0, and the Dodgers have their 3rd pitcher, and we've got for the next 4.5 innings of play-by-play the voice of the Dodgers, Vin Scully.
Thank you, Jim. Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant good evening to you, wherever you may be. Knuckleballer Charlie Hub, ready to step in, and it's safe for openers. You'll be looking at Reggie Jackson, followed by Joe Rudi, and then Gene Tenace. Jackson, thus far, hit back to the box against Downing in the 1st inning, and then hit one about 30 feet out in front of the plate. And that's when Ferguson went out, tried to catch it, juggled it. It slid off his glove somewhat like a glass off a wet tray. And that's been the biggest play of the night. Instead of the 3rd out, it led to a 2-run inning. So Knuckleballer Hub ready and deals, and he almost hits Jackson inside. Ball 1. Ferguson wearing the big waffle mitt now to just try and knock him down. Garvey deep and on the line. Huff's control is always a question for a young knuckleballer. The knuckleball is high ball, too, and he really gets hurt, as any knuckleballer will, when he's behind and has to come in with the fastball. And he's behind Reggie Jackson, who is the fastball hitter, 2-0. The outfield deep and around to right. The Oakland A's leading 3-0 in the bottom of the fifth inning, and the 2-0 knuckleball is way outside. Ball 3. For Huff, like any knuckleball pitcher who ever lived, he has to work and work every day. Even if not in a game, he must throw on the sidelines. In the third playoff game against the Pirates, he worked briefly and was very ineffective. Allowed 2 runs and 4 hits in 1 inning and had to come out. And he hasn't worked since, so he should be a bit rocky here. The 3-0 pitch to Reggie is the fastball, and he's high with it. Ball 4. So when you are playing as good a ball club as the Oakland A's, the Dodgers have just made too many gifts. They have given them 5 walks. There have been 2 errors, plus a couple of bad plays. And that's too much to give Catfish Hunter and the champion A's, and they're leading 3-0. So Huff now, if this were the regular season and a healthy Reggie Jackson, why, he would be in trouble of a steal where Jackson flies. But, of course, with the bad leg, he doesn't figure to do any base-running heroics, at least right now. The hitter is Joe Rudi. He's a first ball hitter, and they like to play hit and run with him during the regular season. Left-hander Jeff Zahn gets up in the Dodger bullpen. And they're playing hit and run, and the knuckleball is missed but dropped, and into second base goes Reggie Jackson. So Joe Ferguson, who is not as good a defensive catcher as Steve Yeager, unable to hand on the knuckleball. It'll go as a stolen base, but of course it's really a busted hit and run play. 0-1 to count. You know, many years ago when Branch Rickey was the theoretician in charge of the Dodgers, he talked about coconut snatchers. One guy up in the tree and then dropping coconuts down to the other, and when they got tired, they then switched jobs. And he said, I want ball players who can switch jobs. And that has really been the theme in the Dodger organization for years. Rudi misses a bunt. There's a throw down to Russell, not in time. Jackson back to the bag, and the count 0-2. So we have a lot of coconut snatchers out there. Russell and Lopes are converted outfielders. Ferguson is an outfielder catching. Garvey is more or less of a misplaced person. They tried to make a third baseman out of it. He couldn't cut it. They put him in the outfield. He couldn't play there. But he finally found a home at first base. And Bill Buckner, who played a lot of first base, is now the everyday left fielder. And when you have a ball club in transition like that, a ball club where so many players are really just beginning to learn their positions, you have nights like this. For Al Downing, he did not pitch that badly, although he usually was in trouble. There was 6 men left on base in the first 4 innings. 0-2. And a knuckleball is swung on and missed, and that takes care of Rudi, 1 away. So Rudi strikes out on the knuckleball. Here is Gene Tenace. Tenace, an excellent fastball hitter. That's the only way to describe it. He proved it the other day against Don Sutton. I don't really remember how many breaking balls Sutton threw him, but he must have thrown him 7 or 8 breaking balls. Knuckleball inside, ball 1. And then Don figured he could sneak the fastball in, and he ripped it foul. And that really is a marvel to see anybody who can look at so many breaking balls and still pull the trigger on a fastball. But that is the hitter at the plate, Gene Tenace. Right-hand batter. Jackson at second base. The 1-0 knuckleball is in for a strike, 1-1. The Dodgers with Garvey and Lopes, Russell and Cey, Buckner, Wynn, and Crawford in the outfield. Time call for a moment. They're going to retrieve something in right field back of Willie Crawford. There are 2 big differences between the Coliseum and Dodger Stadium. One, as Jim pointed out to you, the vast foul area here. The Dodger Stadium isn't vast, and then they lose what they do have when they put the auxiliary seats out during the World Series. And second, there is a problem for the outfielders playing here for the first time. You have about a 10-foot warning track here. At Dodger Stadium, you have a 20-foot warning track, which means when the outfielder hits the dirt here, he is almost on the fence. Jackson is second with 1 out. Tenace waiting on the plate. 1-1 knuckleball is outside. Ball 2, 2-1. Occasionally, Charlie will try to throw a fastball, and even 1 out of, maybe 30, he'll even throw a slider. But his bread and butter pitch consistently is the knuckleball. 3-0 A's. We're in the bottom of the 5th, and the knuckler is outside. 3-1 the count. So it's the typical life of a knuckleball pitcher. A walk to Jackson, a hit-and-run play, and the knuckler impossible to hit, but also impossible to catch. So a sore-legged Jackson steals second. Then Rudi strikes out, and the knuckleballer is behind 3-1 to Tenace. We'll see if he dares the fastball. He does not, and throws the knuckleball to the backstop. It got on the corner of the plate, however, for strike 2. So if you can imagine a knuckleball that went all the way to the backstop for a strike, and down to third base goes Reggie Jackson. It's going to be called a pass ball, and Joe Ferguson is from the San Francisco area. But just as soon take a hike tonight. 2 errors and now a pass ball, but of course, it's all part of a knuckleballer. 3-2 the count. Tenace has walked twice. The infield is up, and Huff will work out of a stretch. Tenace is a good bunter, but not 3-2. He looks at a knuckler. That is strike 3, and Fergie tags him, and Tenace walks away. The knuckleball looked to the crowd as if it was in the dirt, only because Ferguson couldn't hold it. It is so difficult to be a catcher, period. Particularly difficult to handle a knuckleball. And then when you are alternating, one day playing the outfield, one day behind the plate, Ferguson really has his hands full tonight. So 2 down, and Ray Fosse, fastball hitter, an orthodox pitcher, would just throw one breaking ball after another to him. Huff's knuckleball is inside. I don't think Fergie has caught one yet. He knocked it down, ball 1. 1-0. Huff has suffered because of the presence of Mike Marshall. Because Marshall pitches a lot, consequently Huff doesn't, and consequently his knuckleball is very erratic. 1-0 the count to Ray Fosse. Knuckler fouled away, and the count 1-1. The A's scored twice in the 3rd, 1-4 in the 4th. The 2 runs in the 3rd inning, however, on Dodger misplays. The A's scored twice in the 3rd, 1-4 in the 4th. The 2 runs in the 3rd inning, however, on Dodger misplays. And then in the 4th inning, a walk to Green, a sacrifice, and a solid single by Bert Campaneris. So the A's are out in front 3-0. 1-1 the count to Ray Fosse, and the knuckler is inside, knocked down in front of the plate. Ball 2, 2-1. It is disheartening to a catcher when he constantly is, as they say, boxing the ball, dropping it. And it's also upsetting to the pitcher. So the Dodger battery right now sputtering, 2-1 the count. And of course, there's a lot of pressure on Ferguson with a runner at third. 2-1 knuckler is a big chopper to third. Speared by Cey, has to straighten up and throws him out. No runs, no hits, a man left. And at the end of 5, Oakland 3 and the Dodgers nothing. We've got 5 innings in at the Oakland Coliseum. The Oakland A's leading the Los Angeles Dodgers 3-0. Vin Scully along with Jim Simpson. And Catfish Hunter working down to Ray Fosse as the Dodgers are ready to send up Davey Lopes, Bill Buckner, and then Jimmy Wynn. The Dodgers have been in this game once, really, and that was in the 4th inning. They were trailing at the time 2-0. Jimmy Wynn got a board on an error by Dick Green, and then Steve Garvey followed with a looping single to left. The tying runs were on and nobody out. There's a baseball axiom that you play to win on the road and you play to tie at home. In other words, you bunt to get the tying runs over at home, you swing away on the road. The A's did not do that. The A's get the most out of a sacrifice, I guess, as much as any team that plays this game. And at Dodger Stadium, the A's were sacrificing. Down 2-0, Walter Alston elected to have Willie Crawford swing away. He hit a bullet, but right at Green for a double play, and that was that. So they're struggling 3-0 A's. And we go to the 6th inning, and Davey Lopes will start it off. Catfish fastball is whacked into center for a base hit. The Dodgers' 3rd hit. So Hunter getting a fastball out over the plate, and that's just where Lopes likes it, and he singles to center. For the Dodgers, it is typical of their attack. They have gotten some men on base, but throughout the playoffs in Pittsburgh, and again during the World Series, they have certainly not been accused of timely hitting. You remember in the first game, they had 2 runs on 11 base hits and left a dozen. So So Davey Lopes opened up with a base hit, and now here is Buckner. 3-0 in favor of Oakland. Hunter ready and deals. Fastball fouled away. 0-1. In a spot like this with the Dodgers down, you don't expect to see Lopes running too much. Also, with the Dodgers trailing, Alston would much rather have Lopes at first, where Tenace has to hold. That gives Buckner the right side of the infield to take a shot at. Buckner is not a bad punter. The A's know that, so they pull Bando in on the grass. And on deck, Jimmy Wynn. Catfish goes to first, Lopes back to the bag. Davey stole second and third, but that was in the first inning when there was no score. Oakland leading now 3-0 in the sixth. Hunter at the belt, a backward glance. The pitch to Buckner is a high fly ball to right field. It's playable. Reggie Jackson is right there. Makes the catch, and Lopes holding one away. That's one of the big problems for the Dodgers when they fall behind. They can't use their kind of game. No score, Lopes is stealing, or you play hit and run. But down 3-0, they just have to swing, and that's the toughest way to get runs. Jimmy Wynn coming up. Wynn has popped to short, aboard on an error. And Jimmy has been struggling. He has one hit in the series. They play him deep and around the left. Hardly ever does he go the other way. Hunter ready and deals, and the fastball is low, 4-1. Wynn is strictly a pull hitter. In fact, in the last 2 months, I can remember him going to right field once, and that was by accident. He was late on a pitch and doubled to right against the Pirates. Hunter said, a look over at Lopes. Catfish back and missed low and outside. Ball 2, 2-0. One thing about Hunter, it's the mark of all good pitchers. He'll throw his breaking ball when he's behind. He's behind 2-0 to win. Lopes at first, 1 out, top of the 6th inning. And the Oakland A's leading the Dodgers 3-0. Catfish ready and works his hitter, and is a high fly ball into left center field, and that's playable. Rudi and North is calling. Bill makes the catch, and Lopes holding. So the Dodgers trying to swing from the heels to get back in the ball game, and of course that's Catfish's main idea of how to win. You are playing his game now, and with 2 down, the batter is Steve Garvey. So 2 down, Davey Lopes at first base. Garvey flied to center and single to left in the 4th inning. 3 runs, 4 hits, 1 error for Oakland, no runs, 3 hits, and 2 errors for the Dodgers. Garvey hangs over the plate, very strong, and Hunter off the rubber. Garvey has extra power to right center field, but of course he also pays a price. He likes to get out into the pitch, and consequently, he is liable to be jammed. Throw to first, but Lopes back to the bag. Davey, if nothing else, trying to see Hunter's move. He does not have what you'd call a great move by any means. Lopes goes. The pitch fouled away down the right field line, out of play. That was not hit and run. Davey was going on his own. 0-1 the count to Garvey. So Lopes back to the bag. Gene Tenace, Dick Green, Bert Campaneris, and Sal Bando in the infield. Joe Rudi, Bill North, Reggie Jackson in the outfield. Ray Fosse behind the plate. And the big man on the mound, 25 game winner, Jim Catfish Hunter. Has another look at Lopes. Now the strike 1 pitch. Garvey lines it down the right field line. Foul ball. Foul by plenty, and the count 0-2. Garvey is one of the few Dodger hitters who will adjust. That's one reason why he finished up 3rd hitter in the league. By that I mean, most of the Dodger hitters have it in their minds to pull, and they're just going to pull, period. And against Kenny Holtzman, they piled up 11 hits and went down the drain trying to pull him. Garvey had 2 hits that day, both to right field. So Steve trying to go with Hunter's slider. Fouled it into the corner, and the count 0-2. 2 down, 6th inning. Oakland 3, Dodgers nothing. 3rd game of the World Series. Al Downing went 3 2/3 for the Dodgers. Came out combination of trouble and lack of support. Lopes taking his lead. Held on by Gene Tenace. Hunter hands at his sides, reading Fosse, and now the right hand is ready. The pitch to Garvey on the 5th and foul back. We told you that he is prone or liable to be jammed because he likes to go out after that pitch. And Hunter, after giving him 2 breaking balls, busted one in on the thumbs, and he fouled it back. Of course, also, if he is not jammed, he hit 21 home runs. Strike 2 pitch to Steve. Swung on, ground ball to third. Bando the short way to Green for the fourth on low. No runs, 1 hit, a man left. Into 5 1/2. Oakland 3, Dodgers nothing. We go to the bottom of the 6th inning with the Oakland A's leading the Dodgers 3-0. It'll be the second baseman, right-hand hitting Dick Green, followed by Jim Hunter and then Bill Noyes. Green, fastball hitter, good bunter. And Charlie Huff's knuckler swung on and fouled away. 0-1. Charlie Huff, the third Dodger pitcher. Al Downing went 3 2/3. Brewer came in to pick up an out. And Huff now is working his second inning. He got out of some trouble in the 5th inning. Strike 1 knuckleball is inside, and the count 1-1. 3-0 A's. Bottom of the 6th inning. Huff into the windup. The 1-1 pitch on the way. Outside, ball 2. The Oakland Coliseum, 330 down the line, 375 up the alleys, 400 to center with an 8-foot fence. And the field is in marvelous condition. The 2-1 pitch on the way. Fastball fouled away. Got him in on the thumbs with it, and the count 2-2. Considering that the Raiders played a football game here, plus a couple of preseason games, they have done a marvelous job. The infield would be a trifle slower than it would be at Dodger Stadium. 2-2. The count to Dick Green, who struck out, walked, and scored a run, and a knuckleball is fouled away. Dick scored in the 4th inning when he walked, was sacrificed, and rode home on Campaneris single. Green's error was on a ball by Jim Wynn in the 4th inning. Charlie Huff trying to keep the A's quiet. Right-hander ready in the 2-2 pitch. Knuckler high, ball 3. He opened up the 5th inning, walking Jackson. Then there was a stolen base on a busted hit-and-run play and a pass ball. But he was able to strike out Rudi and Tenace and get Fosse on a ground ball to get out of the jam. 3-2. Huff checking. Ferguson setting a target, and the 3-2 pitch, fastball, fouled away out of play. It is not that Charlie has that good a fastball, but the hitters start to get lulled by the knuckler, and they're just a trifle late on it. When they are on that fastball, they hit it a long way. 3-2 pitch to Dick Green, fastball, fouled away again. So Charlie is trying very hard not to get that leadoff man on. That really scrambles his defensive problem. And with a good bunter like Hunter on deck, why, a walk to Green almost a cinch you'll have a man at second base. 3-2 to Dick Green. Fastball, fouled away again. So he went 3-2 on knucklers, and now he's thrown him 3 straight fastballs. 3 runs, 4 hits, 1 error for Oakland. No runs, 3 hits, and 2 errors for Los Angeles. Up into the windup, and the 3-2 fastball is popped up. It'll be Ron Cey calling, backed up by Russell, but the third baseman wants it, and he's got it. 1 away. There are a lot of banners here in the Oakland Coliseum proclaiming the allegiance of fans, either to individuals or to teams. And Jim Catfish Hunter has quite a few of the banners directed to him and in his honor. He has struck out and sacrificed 0 for 1. Good hitter. Right-hand batter. Up into the windup and deals. Knuckler high. Of course, for me, the beginning and the end of all signs. The crowd booing a knuckleballer that got away, 1-0. There was a sign at Shea Stadium in New York many years ago, and the Mets were first starting. And the Dodgers opened up the season there, and Don Drysdale, in peak of form, opened up for the Dodgers. And the first pitch to the leadoff Mets hitter was a strike, and a fan shot out a banner, wait till next year. Pitch fouled away, 1-1. The count to Jim Catfish Hunter, 1 out in the 6th. Oakland sitting on top of a 3-0 lead. Joe Ferguson wigwagging a couple of signs, Huff ready. Now the 1-1 pitch. Knuckleball foul back in the count 1-2. Huff has just been throwing the knuckleball for a couple of years. And just in case you don't know, the knuckleball is really a misnomer. If anything, it could be called the fingertip or fingernail pitch. You don't use your knuckles at all. 1-2, Knuckler swung on and missed, strike 3. So 3 strikeouts for Charlie Huff. 2 down, and Bill North hitting left-handed coming up. North hitting left-handed and against a knuckleballer, and in this particular spot is a definite threat to bunt. Right-handed, he likes to push and drag. Left-handed, he usually just drags. We'll see if he tries to bunt now. It's a pretty good time to do it. On deck, Bert Campaneris. He's also a first ball hitter and looks at a strike. 0-1. North right-handed, struck out in the first inning, single to left, and scored in the third. He scored on what should have been the third out. The strike 1 knuckleball is outside. 1-1. Then last time up in the fourth inning, he hit a long fly ball to left field. So Bill North 1 for 3. When the Dodgers hit in the 7th inning, they have Willie Crawford, Joe Ferguson, and Ron Cey. Knuckler in there for a strike. 1-2. The Dodgers have a tremendous faith in Huff. They feel that, maybe he's not going to be a Hoyt Wilhelm, but they have an idea he'll pitch for 20 years. Maybe so. The 1-2 pitch to Bill North, Knuckler fouled away, off to the left out of play. I couldn't resist the temptation one time in interviewing Charlie Huff, and I asked him, did you ever throw a knuckleball to first base after fielding a ball? He said, yes, once. He couldn't resist the temptation to do it. First baseman caught it, but they had quite a meeting at the mound. It was in his minor league days. 1-2 to Bill North. 2 down, bottom of the 6th inning. Oakland with 2 in the 3rd and 1 in the 4th, leading 3-0. The 1-2 pitch, a knuckleball waved at and missed. Strike 3, 4 strikeouts for Charlie Huff. He's retired 6 in a row. And at the end of 6, Oakland 3 and the Dodgers nothing. With the A's, 3 runs, 4 hits, 1 error. The Dodgers no runs, 3 hits, 2 errors. In case you weren't with us earlier, Oakland scored twice in the 3rd and once in the 4th. Talking about, quote, in case you weren't with us earlier, there are so many writers covering the World Series, it's only appropriate to pass along a press box story. You hear so many things about ball players. Writers occasionally will be late for a game for one reason or another. And when they come in, they will sit down to a seatmate and say, fill me in. And naturally, the fellow will say, okay, in the first inning, so-and-so struck out, so-and-so grounded to third, next guy flied to center. This particular writer, whom we know, came in late and slightly under the weather. And he said to compatriot, fill me in. So the guy started to call off the plays. The pitch to Willie Crawford is low, ball 1. And finally, he came up to a hitter and he said, lined out to short. And he said, star that, because it was a great play. And the other guy looked at him through bloodshot eyes and said, I'll be the judge of that. The pitch to Crawford is a fly ball to center. Bill North is right there, waiting and puts it away. 1 down. Well, you don't have to be much of a judge of it tonight. The Dodgers have played it fast and loose. The A's have had a couple of timely base hits, and it is 3-0 Oakland. Joe Ferguson, what a night. How would you like to be a boy from San Francisco, playing in the World Series? You have struck out twice. You've had 2 errors charged to you, and a fastball. Well, that's Fergie as he checks in. Although he's got a very good attitude, and I think the modern-day ball player has anyway. Fastball strike, 0-1. Now, I don't believe there's a ball player down on the field who has any ideas that this is more important than life and death or anything even close to it. The strike 1 breaking ball is low, 1-1. In fact, we were having lunch today, and a couple of the ball players were saying the main idea of a World Series is to have fun. Because even the losers' wives buy coats, mink coats. Fastball fouled away, or first, down the line, out of play. Tenace over to take a look, but that's all. The closest ballpark in the National League to approximate all this foul territory here in the Oakland Coliseum would be in Atlanta. In fact, Atlanta had so much foul territory, they had to put up auxiliary fences to cut it down. 1-2 to Joe Ferguson, Ron Cey on deck. 1 out. 7th inning, Oakland 3, Dodgers nothing. High fastball, and the count 2-2. Fergie has a look now at Tommy Lasorda. Not very much the third base coach can tell him, however, with 2 strikes, bases empty, and 1 out. The 2-2 pitch. Breaking ball up, ball 3. 3-2. The Dodgers are trying to do it the hard way. They have to hit to catch up. They're down 3-0. They can't play bunt. They can't move a man over. They can't steal, and they can't play hit and run. They're down to ripping away at a 25-game winner. Fastball busts him on the thumbs, and he fouls it back out of play. Hunter is a control pitcher who pays the price, and most control pitchers do. He has won 25 games, and he has given up 25 home runs. Because anybody who's right on the plate is susceptible to the long ball. 3-2 to Joe Ferguson. 1 out, 7th inning, 3-0 Oakland. Right-hander Hunter comes back 3-2 and missed low with a fastball, ball boy. For Hunter, who is pitching easily with a 3-0 lead, that's his second walk. He has struck out 4, so he has more than balanced his book. And he's allowed only 3 hits. The Dodgers have gotten 1 man to third base. That was Davey Lopes, and he had to do it on his own. He singled and stole second and third. Hunter, perhaps tiring a little bit, and they're going to watch him. Remember, he pitched in the playoffs, and they get the big man up, rolling fingers, down in the bullpen. Ron Cey flied to left and struck out. Hunter ready and deals. Fastball away. Ball 1. 1-0. Wes Stock and Alvin Dark out in front of the Oakland A's dugout watching Hunter's move. Leading 3-0. Tenace will not hold Ferguson on. Cey pulls it foul back of Coach Lasorda and down the line, and the count 1-1. One thing certainly they will watch with Hunter. If you had to pinpoint his style, when they talk about a pitcher, he's either directly overhand, 3/4, sidearm, or submarine. And Hunter is a 3/4 pitcher, and certainly a tip-off on him when he tires, he'll start to drop the arm. Fastball is low. Hunter, of course, brought in, you remember, to relieve. He had not done it all year. And even though he pitched only 1 batter and struck out Ferguson, he had to make pitches to get ready. And at this end of the year, almost anything that throws a pitcher out of whack can be costly. In the Dodger bullpen, in case they get to Huff's spot and hit for him, Mike Marshall begins to warm up. 2-1 to Ron Cey. Ferguson at first, 1 out, 7th inning, 3-0 Oakland. And the pitch to Cey, ground ball to short. Campaneris goes back to Green, and that's all. He had no chance with the double play. The ball took a bad hop on Campaneris and ran up his arm. Paul Lindblad now gets up to join right-hander Roland Fingers. So 2 down, and the batter is Bill Russell. And that was a classic case of a young Dodger hitter refusing to go the other way. With a runner at first and 1 out, Hunter threw a breaking ball, and Cey was not about to try and go with it. And he pulled the breaking ball up the end of the bat to the shortstop. So 2 down, and here is Bill Russell. Hunter out of his stretch. A look at Cey, and a fastball fouled away. Off to the right, out of play. 0-1. Al Downing did not pitch badly, although he was in trouble. But the play that Joe Ferguson failed to make on Reggie Jackson's number out in front of the plate cost him 2 runs. Here's the strike 1 pitch to Russell. A breaking ball looped into left field for a base hit. Cey will go to second and hold, and Von Joshua comes out on deck. So Joshua, a left-hand batter, will hit for Charlie Huff. Going out to the mound is Wes Stock, the pitching coach for the A's. There are a couple of telltale signs if you know a pitcher. And there are 2 things that Stock could be talking to Catfish Hunter about. One would be, and we mentioned earlier, if he is dropping his arm. The other is his left leg. The legs, of course, are always the first to go. If Hunter is pitching properly, he will bring that left leg up, break the knee right there, and then come to the plate. When he starts to tire, when he brings the left leg up, he begins to swing it. Instead of just holding it out in front, he's now a little tired, and he begins to swing it, let's say, in an arc towards second base. And once he starts swinging the leg or dropping the arm, that's when Weststock goes out. Weststock was out there chatting with him now, and here is Joshua. Joshua does not scare you as far as the long ball, but he's a brand new daddy, so you can imagine how he feels as he hits one up the alley in left center. Joe Rudi is there, however, to make the catch. Savon Joshua, a long out to Joe Rudi in left center. No runs, no hits, 2 left. The end of 6 1/2. Oakland 3 and the Dodgers nothing. As they go to the bottom of the 7th inning, with Oakland leading the Dodgers 3 0, and the traditional 7th inning stretch is killed a little bit here as the big crowd sang God Bless America. Mike Marshall coming in to pitch with Oakland leading 3 0. That's a little bit unusual. To bring in the ace of your staff, ask him to pitch at least 2 innings with your team behind. A couple of guys getting in a little work, Abbott and Hamilton down in the A's bullpen, but they're just letting out. If things get serious, rolling fingers, and Lindblad will get out. So Mike Marshall now ready to go to work. Maybe if it goes that far, and maybe if he keeps popping up, he'll tie Darrell Knowles' record of appearing in every series game. Fastball, over for a strike, going 1. Bert Campaneris, doubles, grounded out, and singles. So he's 2 for 3. His base hit in the 4th inning, chase home run. Marshall becomes the 4th Dodger pitcher. Downing, Brewer, Huff, and Marshall. Screwball is swung on and missed, strike 2, 0-2. If you had to chart Marshall's pitches, it would be fastball, screwball, and slider. Strike 2, fastball is hit to Russell. Bill is up with it cleanly, and over to Garvey for the out. 1 away. When Mike Marshall pitched for Montreal, and we only saw him occasionally when the Dodgers would play the Expos, you'd think naturally of that great screwball. He has a couple. But now that we have seen him in so many games this year, boy, his fastball is the biggest surprise. He's got a good hummer. Sal Bando grounded to short, walked and struck out, 0 for 2. Marshall checking with Joe Ferguson, who must be relieved that Charlie Huff is out of there. There's a ground ball wide to third. Stay over in front of it and flips across to Garvey. 2 out. Marshall making his 3rd appearance, so he's par for the course. During the regular season, in half in jest, they used to say it wouldn't be a Dodger ball game without a hot dog, a soft drink, and Mike Marshall. He's working now with 2 out on Reggie Jackson. Jackson hit back to the box with a board on the error by Ferguson. That was a crusher in the 3rd inning, and then walked in the 5th inning. So Reggie is 0 for 2. Marshall checking with Ferguson. Mike ready and deal. Slider hit foul outside of first base. Foul ball. The way Garvey was playing Jackson, Garvey would have fielded a fair ball because his glove was right on the foul line and he still wasn't there. So Jackson will come back and try it again, 0-1. Tomorrow, Kenny Holtzman and Andy Messersmith. The left-hander Holtzman, 19 and 17, and right-hander Messersmith, 20 and 6. Jackson visiting with Doug Harvey, the plate umpire. 0-1 the count. A lot of times, you'll see a hitter talk to the umpire, and all he's doing is, did I swing at a strike? Marshall out of a windup, and the strike 1 fastball is low in the dirt, squirts between Ferguson's legs. And the count 1-1. For those of you who have never seen Mike Marshall, he pitches bare-armed always, everywhere. In a blizzard in Montreal, he will pitch bare-armed. 1-1. Mike out of a windup. The 1-1 pitch, fastball, and he got it over. So Jackson, a guess hitter anyway, takes the fastball, 1-2. Reggie has made a very good living, thank you, hitting that kind of a pitch deep into the seats. But he was caught guessing. 1 ball, 2 strikes. 3-0 Oakland. Bottom of the 7th, 2 out, bases empty. Marshall to the windup, and the 1-2 pitch, fastball high, ball 2. Marshall, and I'm sure you've read about him. He has his doctorate in kinesiology. During an off day after clinching the division in Houston, Marshall lectured at Rice University. He is a very intense inner man. He is not extroverted even to the slightest degree. The 2-2 pitch. Fastball got him looking. And you talk about one super outthinking another. Jackson walked out towards the mound looking at Marshall, and the professor has lectured to another student. They're done in the 7th, and at the end of 7, Oakland 3, Dodgers nothing. We're going to the 8th inning here in the Oakland Coliseum. Claudell Washington is now picked up in right field for Reggie Jackson. That would appear to be the only change. And the Dodgers will have the top of the order. That means Davey Lopes, Bill Buckner, and Jimmy Wynn. So an infield of Tenace and Green, Campaneris and Bando, Fosse behind the plate, an outfield of Rudi, North, and Claudell Washington. 3-0 Oakland for Davey Lopes. He singled twice and walked. So he's 2 for 2. He has a couple of stolen bases. He's the only Dodger to get the third. Jim Hunter doing as advertised, pitching a dandy. And, of course, the Dodgers, in a sense, made things a little easier for him. Their own mistake, lighten the load. Right-hander ready, and the pitch to Davey Lopes. The breaking ball over for a strike. He took a little bit off his slider that time. 0-1 the count. 49,347 here. Breaking ball is hit to deep center. North with the ball over his head, going back and backhands on the run. Bill North, who plays a rather shallow center field, made a fine play, got a good jump, and just reached up and backhanded the ball on the run. It was above his head and almost beyond him. But he made a fine play. For Davey Lopes, of course, a wasted effort, because long fly balls are certainly not a payoff ticket for him. He gets line drives for a living. So long out to center field, 1 down, and the batter will be Bill Buckner. Bill North going back to the fence in center field to retrieve something. It looks like a frisbee. And he has picked it up and flipped it over that 8-foot wall, and we have to wait now. One of the members of the ground crew is going to go out there and help, but North spotted it and cleared it off. 1 away. Hunter, at this stage right now, relying on his strength, which is control. So he didn't want to let his speedster like Lopes get aboard. Gave him a fairly good pitch to hit, but it was a wasted effort, a long out for Davey Lopes. Now here is Buckner. Slide to right, grounded out, slide to right again, 0 for 3. Fastball away, ball 1, 1-0. Buckner can pull anybody's fastball if he gets it inside. He is very quick. However, breaking balls, off-speed pitches that drive into distraction. He just pulled a fastball out into the right field bleachers, home run. Well, we mentioned that Hunter is a home run pitcher. He has given up 25 during the year, and he is certainly susceptible. And Buckner got a fastball to pull, and pull it he did. So the Dodgers are on the board the hard way. It is Oakland 3 and the Dodgers 1. Alvin Dark heading for the mound, and we'll pause 35 seconds for station identification. Here in the 8th inning, Alvin Dark seeing first Davey Lopes muscle one about 390 feet for an out in center. Then seeing Bill Buckner drill one into the right field bleachers and figured that the Catfish is done. So he takes him off the griddle and will bring in Rolling Fingers. So the ball game has settled down late. We're in the 8th inning. As the battle between the relief pitchers, Rolling Fingers, and for Mike Marshall. Fingers, outstanding relief pitcher. He's also a horse out there on the mound. Anytime Fingers gets in a ball game, and he always presents a problem to the hitters, he also presents a problem to the opposing pitcher. He is a big man, and he'll tear up a mound. So when Mike Marshall goes back out to pitch in the bottom of the 8th inning, it'll probably take him a while to smooth off the mound here in Oakland, because Fingers, a big man, he really chews it up. Jimmy Wynn will be the batter, and then Steve Garvey. Oakland 3 runs, 4 hits, 1 error. The Dodgers 1 run, 5 hits, and 2 errors. And, of course, the lack of defense is the difference in the game. The rolling Fingers, ready to go to work. Fingers is in his second appearance. He worked 4 1/3 innings, you remember, in relief of Kenny Holtzman. He's high to Jimmy Wynn, ball 1. He has a good moving fastball that has a tendency to go down. Fastball and curve, rarely a slider. Fastball outside, ball 2, 2-0. The only time Fingers gets into trouble is when he does not just rely on his stuff, when he decides to try to pitch the spot. He tries to get too careful, and the next thing you know, he's behind. He's behind to win right now. But he is an outstanding relief pitcher. Rolling Fingers. 3-1 A's in the 8th inning, and the big right-hander comes back 2-0, fastball foul back. 2-1. There is no hit sign. 2-0 is a perfect example. At least on the Dodger ball club, they don't have a hit sign. You're always hitting, unless they put a take sign on. Fastball fouled away, 2-2. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Jimmy Wynn. 1 out in the 8th inning. Oakland 3 and the Dodgers 1. A kid from up around these parts just hit a home run for the Dodgers. Bill Buckner, he's from nearby Vallejo. 2-2 pitch to Jimmy Wynn. Fastball hit to the hole and into right field. And one of the few times you'll see in a year, Jimmy Wynn got a piece of a fastball and single to right. And that brings up Garvey representing the tying run.
The batter, first baseman, Steve Garvey.
So the Dodgers with a home run by Buckner after a long fly ball out, and that was enough for Hunter. They bring in Fingers. Wynn certainly didn't drill the ball. He hit a fastball at the end of the bat and just rolled it into the hole and into right field. Garvey is flied to center, single to left, hit into a fourth play. Wynn off the bag, draws the throw and gets back. Fingers has a good move to first, and he throws over to first a lot. And with the Dodgers down by 2, doubtful that Wynn will do much running. They want Garvey to take his best shot. The pitch to Steve. Fastball, line drive at Green. Back to Tenace. Double play. Well, when you hit 2 bullets at the second baseman for double plays, the only thought to keep in mind is drive careful going home. 1 run, 2 hits, nobody left. And at the end of 7.5, Oakland 3 and the Dodgers 1. Well, we go to the bottom of the 8th inning. The Dodgers getting just 1 run and having the lid slammed down on the inning on that line drive by Garvey. Second time tonight, the Dodgers have lined into a double play, hitting a ball at Dick Green. Willie Crawford put the brakes to a rally in the 4th inning when the Dodgers had first and second and nobody out. So in the bottom of the 8th, the A's are still out in front 3-1. It'll be Joe Rudi, Gene Tenace, and Ray Fosse. And Mike Marshall ready to go to work. And he's done a little manicure job on the mound, and he's ready to work on Rudi. Mike deals fastball, a comebacker. Snapped nicely by Marshall. It throws him out. 1 away. So Rudi hits back to the box. And Gene Tenace coming up. Marshall, who has set all kinds of records, says he does not care a whit about numbers. He likes strictly the challenge of the game. Well, I would think this is enough of a challenge. Here's a fastball hitter at the plate, Gene Tenace. We'll see what Mike does with him. A screwball, and he's over for a strike, going 1. I loved his remark when he joined the Dodgers this spring, and they started to ask him about his screwball. And somebody said, well, how would you compare it to Jim Brewer's, and how would you compare it to Tug McGraw of the Mets? Slider high, 1-1. And Marshall very seriously said, their screwball is in the infantile stage compared to mine. And we said, I beg your pardon. 1-1, the count of Gene Tenace. Mike ready in the 1-1 pitch. Line in the left field, base hit. For the A's, that's their first hit since Campaneris singled in the 4th inning. but they're leading 3-1. And with one out, Ray Fosse C coming up. Also, Tenace will probably give way. Up, here comes Herbie Washington. And, of course, the crowd seeing Washington come in for Tenace. And there is, let's say, a mixed reaction. Well, Marshall gives up a hit. And I guess everybody in the world knows that Herbie Washington was picked off by Marshall. You'll see now. It was a quirk to have Marshall the pitcher, Garvey the first baseman, Herb Washington the base runner, all from Michigan State. Herbie takes a little lead, and the pitch to Fosse a strike, 0-1. 0-1 to Ray Fosse. Ferguson has a good arm, but he does not throw with the Jaeger. 0-1 the count. Washington held on by Garvey. Marshall fidgety as usual. And Herbie takes a short lead. Marshall checks him, ready back with a fastball that's popped up. Davey Lopes is there. He's not going to play any tricks with it. He's going to catch it. The reason I say play any tricks, the first thought that comes to your mind is why not get rid of Washington, have a lead-footed catcher, and let the ball drop and get a fourth. But Lopes decided no, he'd just stay with it. So 2 down, Herbie Washington remains at first, and the batter is Dick Green. Green has struck out, walked, and popped up, and it is so nice, and it's typical of an Alvin Dark club, to have a hit-and-run man hitting 8th in the lineup, and he is a hit-and-run specialist. So with Washington at first, and 2 out, they can play straight steal, or they can play hit-and-run. There's a throw to first. Washington back to the bag. Mike Marshall caught both Steve Garvey and Herb Washington at Michigan State. Pitch high, ball 1. 1-0. The count to Dick Green. He's looking down to Bobby Winkles to see if they have a play. They could put the handcuffs on Green to let Washington try to just steal, but if he steals, they know they probably just walk Green. So if anything, I would think of a hit-and-run play rather than a straight steal. The 1-0 pitch, here he goes, and it's a hit-and-run fly ball to left field. Bill Buckner looking up into the Oakland night, waiting, and makes the catch, and that's that. No runs, 1 hit, a man left, and at the end of 8, Oakland 3, and the Dodgers 1. Well, as they said in the song about Kansas City, we have gone about as far as we can go. It's the top of the 9th inning. Oakland leading Los Angeles 3-1. For the A's, 3 runs, 5 hits, and 1 error. They've left 7. For the Dodgers, a run, 6 hits, and 2 errors. And the Dodgers left the 7. Let's check Oakland. 5, 7, they've left 8. So Rolling Fingers, who was bailed out in the 8th thanks to the line drive that found Dick Green's glove. And Willie Crawford, Joe Ferguson, and Ron Cey in that order. At first base, Jim Holt now taking over. And the first thing Ray Fosse does to get Holt in the ballgame is to tell him to look out for the bunt. Holt, however, stays deep. Crawford is not much of a punter, but he might try once because Holt is certainly not a slick fielding first baseman. Fingers ready and deals, and the pitch is strike, and Willie fakes the bunt just to get the corners moving a little bit. Bando is in on the grass, and he has brought Holt up a step or 2. He'd like to bring him up some more. That cuts down his range and gives you a better chance of a shot to right field. 0-1. Fingers back to the plate, and a breaking ball is low. 1-1. We told you of his 3 pitches, fastball, curve, and slider. He rarely uses the slider. Crawford grounded out, lined into a double play, and flied to center. 1-1 pitch. Fastball whacked to right center field. Bill North is racing over for that one. She's gone. A home run for Willie Crawford. And suddenly the Dodgers are back in the ballgame, although they have picked the last act of tonight's little drama to do so. It is Oakland 3 and the Dodgers 2. As Crawford touches them all. And you must say now that Fingers and the A's are rather fortunate. That line drive found its way to Dick Green. But boy, it ain't so bad to be lucky. And here's Joe Ferguson. Fingers hasn't fooled anybody. And the batter is Fergie, 3-2 Oakland. Fastball, a strike on the outside corner. Ferguson struck out twice and walked. Nobody out in the ninth. The breaking ball is outside, 1-1. Isn't it something? We're on another 3-2 score. Oakland won 3-2. The Dodgers won 3-2. Oakland leading 3-2. Fingers ready. And the 1-1 pitch to Fergie. Breaking ball down. Ball 2-1. They can't be too happy about what they see, and Paul Lindblad gets up. And he's going to begin to throw. And in a hurry. Ron Cey is on deck. 2-1. The count to Ferguson. Fingers ready and deals. Fastball, a bouncer to the hole at short. Campaneris drops it, picks it up, throws too late, and the tying run is aboard. Joe Ferguson just did beat Campaneris slow after Bert had kicked it. And now Walter Alston talking to Ron Cey with Bill Russell on deck. And a meeting at the mound as Alvin Dark talks to Roland Fingers. Fingers is a good fielder. He has a good move to first. Cey does not bunt much. Tonight he has flied to left, struck out, and hit into a force play. Lindblad and Knowles, two left-handers, throwing in the A's bullpen. And time called for a moment, as Ferguson will give way for a runner. Joe runs pretty well, but Rick Auerbach runs a little better. So Auerbach will run for Ferguson. Though each side has committed 2 errors, the Dodgers have out-hit the A's, but that's an old story. The A's are very much accustomed to being out-hit in World Series, but they have 2 championships in a row despite it. Fosse again talking to the infield about a bunt. Auerbach at first. Nobody out in the ninth. Oakland 3, and the Dodgers 2, and Ron Cey at the plate. Cey backs out. He wants to double-check the signs. Tommy Lasorda out of the box. And Auerbach off the bag. Holding. Fingers ready and deal. Cey looks, and it's away. Ball 1, 1-0. Jeff Zahn is up in the Dodger bullpen. So the left-handers are throwing. Lindblad, and now Knowles has given way in the bullpen. In fact, Knowles is joined by Odom, and it's Lindblad who sits down. So Blue Moon is gone, along with Knowles. 1-0 the count to Ron Cey. Fingers at the belt and deal. Cey gets the bunt foul off to the right of the plate, and the count 1-1. So the Dodgers so quiet for 7 innings. And the tip-off that they were starting to come to life against Hunter was Davey Lopes, 390-foot out to center field. Buckner homered, and that was all for Hunter. And then Fingers gave up a single to win, but the line drive double play bailed him out, and then Crawford homered. 1-1 to Cey. He's bunting and looks at a strike. Breaking ball got the inside corner. 1-2. Now we got a dandy. Oakland, 3 runs, 5 hits, 2 errors. Dodgers, 2 runs, 7 hits, 2 errors. We're in the top of the 9th inning. Oakland scored twice in the 3rd, once more in the 4th. The Dodgers finally got on the board in the 8th, and again here in the 9th. Fingers ready. 1-2 pitch to Cey. Fastball, swung on and missed, strike 3. And he was a badly fooled hitter. That is a very big out. Bill Russell is the batter, and Manny Mota will come out to hit for Marshall. Cey was really guessing. He was guessing breaking ball, and he was also guessing location. He was giving on the pitch, thinking that Fingers would come inside. And instead of a breaking ball inside, he got a fastball on the outside, and he wasn't anywhere close. It must have just been an echo. They're trying to bring Claudell Washington in right field. Reggie Jackson looks like he's reeling him in. And Bill Russell will be the batter. Russell has popped up. That's when Catfish Hunter was pitching. He popped up to Hunter. Slide to center, single to left. So they bring Washington up. Auerbach at first. 1 out in the 9th. Oakland 3, Dodgers 2. Russell figures to see breaking balls. We'll see how Fingers handles him. Right-handed deals. Fastball hits it down the green. He's to Campaneris. He's to third. Double play. It's all over. Bill Russell got a fastball and hit it down to Dick Green. And Greeny started the double play to Campaneris, back to Holt, and the ball game is over. The Dodgers fall a buck short. They get 1 run, 1 hit, 1 error, nobody left, and the Dodgers hit into 3